Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K?
I am doing amazing. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Yes. So did you see that question that was up just a minute ago?
Listen, I looked right at it and all I could see was the shoes and the underwear. I think so. I just get so distracted. I love the picture though, because I love art. So
Right. So the question out there, that if anyone's out there listening, is: do you have to have, or do you believe that forming a deep emotional connection is essential for sexual attraction?
I like that question. So now that look, I made them underwear and everything. Red is my favorite color, so I just saw shoes and was like, "Ooh, that's a really good question."
We're going to be talking about that and more. Yeah, but what do you feel about that?
Honestly, I don't think you have to. You should, but I don't think it's necessary because some people, like myself, I always tell everybody I'm a former serial cheater. So I was able to totally disconnect my mind from my body and just go at it. But I absolutely think that you should, for it to be meaningful, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I approach it in the sense, it's kind of what are you looking for?
Right.
Because not everybody's looking for, a deep emotional relationship. People are looking for a variety of stuff. And so I'm excited today because we're going to have a great podcast today. And we're going to be talking about intimacy and demisexuality. Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for everyone to. I had a little glimpse of our guest before this, so I'm excited for everybody to meet and talk with her about this topic.
Right. So we definitely have a wonderful guest. Her name is Love Atiya, and she is going to educate us and inspire us. Yes. So if you're out there and you're maybe sexually frustrated or sexually curious, definitely, listen and continue to listen. But before we get into that, we always do a charity of the month, and this month is February. And we have this Love and Kindness Project Foundation. It's a great charity. It's about basically dropping random acts of kindness.
Got to keep that in the forefront. So it's great. There's this website to just remind us that every day is a new opportunity to just present a random act of kindness, because you never know who's watching and who will follow suit.
Right, definitely. So definitely check them out. They're doing some great work. So if you're out there listening and you're like, oh my gosh, let's get into the topic. We're going to get into the topic in a moment. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back in a few moments.
Join Vacation Counseling on the Christian Couples Retreat September 13th through the 18th of 2024. Enter into a deeper connection with God and love and honor each other passionately in God's love. Dr. April Brown, intimacy and sex therapist and author of Improving Intimacy, and Dr. Jason Prendergast, therapist on 90 Day Fiancé, Last Resort, will lead you through Christian-based relationship and intimacy therapy, the Gottman Method, temperate therapy, group and private couples counseling, and enjoy intimate vows exchange, dancing, and boating excursions. For more information, call 239-565-6921. Book your Christian couples retreat today at vacationcounseling.com. Ignite the passion in your marriage.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. I want to welcome a lovely young lady that I found on, it's not like I found her.
You found me.
No, no, but I was on Instagram and I was inspired by this young, yes, Love Atiya. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Coach K, Dr. April. I appreciate you. My name is Love Atiya. I am the host of the Love Atiya Experience podcast, and I can't wait to talk about intimacy.
Yes, yes. And what I was inspired is she's a young person and she has a positive sexual information to give. You know, sometimes it's kind of negative, but yeah, and in reading her story, in her positivity, of course, was grounded in her mother, who gave her first vibrator at age 16. And you know, many moms or parents don't do that. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah. And so yes, and now you've a decade, I mean, yeah, you look still young.
Thank you.
And now at 17, you do look, that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yes. No, yeah, it was definitely absolutely life-changing. I feel like she set the trajectory of my life in my sex positivity. So I'm grateful for her. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. So today's topic is love and demisexuality, and many people are intimacy. And but many people are like, what is that?
So I actually didn't know anything about demisexuality until I had a conversation with my therapist. And I was telling her that I was trying to explore myself sexually with different partners. And there was just a disconnect. I wouldn't reach my climax. They were scared of intimacy. It was a lot. And so I learned that I was demisexual. And that means that you have to have an emotional connection with somebody in order to be able to enjoy intimacy with them and exchange intimate moments with them. Something similar to like a sapiosexual who needs to have a connection with intelligence and with your mind. I need a connection with your heart. And it sounds like that's like the norm, but it's really not. Not everybody needs a connection to be able to have sex. So yeah, that was life-changing.
Okay, yes, yeah. And it's good that you realized that at a young age.
Absolutely. Yes, I think I was 27 when I had this epiphany.
Okay. Yeah, because for like you said, some people don't know. And then on the flip side, some people don't know that's what is required.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And then,
yeah.
And it's helpful then to facilitate conversations with people you feel connected with, like about the important conversations about getting tested and boundaries and things of that sort. So if I'm connected with you emotionally, I feel safe to be able to have those conversations.
Right, definitely. Yeah. So in your business of what you do, how do you help people figure that out?
Yes. So I originally talked very openly about this on TikTok and on Instagram, on YouTube. But there's a lot of censorship and a lot of shadow banning that happens when you talk about specifically women's sexuality, because men's sexuality is totally okay to talk about uncensored. Like people have millions of followers and you talk about ED and all that stuff. So I started getting shadow banned a lot, and I felt like my content was helping people, but it wasn't reaching the amount of people I wanted it to. So I created my podcast, the Love Atiya Experience, and that really helped me be able to just speak about my experiences. I created it to be a safe space for myself and a safe space for the listeners, And now I am working on an intimacy company and a self-care and self-awareness wellness company. So I have my company Ethereal by Love Atiya, which is a natural vegan hair and skincare company. It's cruelty-free, but this extension of this company is called Ethereal X. And so this is where I'll be talking a lot about sexual wellness. I plan on producing sex toys, journals, and intimacy card decks, and everything that you need to really make you feel just closer to yourself and to your partner if you have one. So yeah.
Yes. I mean, and Coach K can relate. When you talk about female sexuality, it does get flagged in so many aspects.
Yeah,
It's so
I don't. Yeah, that's why I don't put gender on any of my social media platforms. I learned to not put. I just rather not answer, and I'm a knock on wood. I have been able to have all of my sites up without flagging for 6, going on 7 years now.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, I need to. That's very smart because I usually have like female or woman or her, she on my page. So they're like, oh, she's a woman talking about sexuality. Get her out of here.
Which is why I think what you teach about is super important. Because we as women have been kind of banned, shadow banned, blocked from speaking on it. Many of us just don't, or we revert to just allowing the men to do it. So being able to have a voice and the way that you recreated yourself is huge, because not a lot of people know anything about demisexuality whatsoever. They can't form long-term relationships because they just don't get it. And to try to have a relationship with a man or even another person without understanding what you need is just years of a lot of sex and no meaningful relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would even take it a step further, Coach K, is also, like you said, we get blocked everywhere. So many times women don't believe that they can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right. And they haven't gotten the information on why they're not enjoying it. So it's like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to just lay here. Maybe that's just how I'm supposed to be as a woman.
Yes, you start feeling broken. Or is it me? Like all my friends are saying, oh, they have this great sex, but like, why am I not having these climaxes and experiencing these things? And yeah, 1,000%.
Yes. And so if people are thinking about, or even that emotional connection, some people are like, what is that?
Okay, what is an emotional connection? For me, I put that all under the umbrella of just feeling safe with somebody, feeling heard, feeling seen, feeling like I can just openly express myself, feeling like I know about the person. I've had sex with people where I didn't know their last name. I didn't know, like, I don't need to know your family history per se, like immediately, but I'd like to know something about your interests. And especially in the age of like dating apps, right? I was in a relationship for 3 years, and then 2020 to 2022 was like my exploration phase. But I didn't really have the tools to know like what dating and sex was supposed to feel like outside of that relationship. So then once I started having a closer connection with myself and being able to see myself and have these deep conversations with myself, that's when I realized what I needed from my partner. Like if my partner and I can't have the same conversations that I'm having with myself, or if my partner can't make me feel as good as I'm making myself feel, then this is not somewhere where I need to spend my time. So I think that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Right. And I do believe it also starts up here.
Yes.
Because this controls everything else.
Yes.
So yes, I remember when I was younger, I was engaged sexually with someone, and body was hot and everything, but that connection wasn't there. I realized that, certain aspects that he wasn't all that smart. So that emotional piece for me just
yes.
And I was turned off. After that, I was just like done.
Yeah. But I'm sure a lot of people can absolutely relate to that.
Yeah, because that's important.
Yes, absolutely. And even though sapiosexuality focuses so much on like intelligence, I really do agree and feel like they go hand in hand. Like I think that you do need that emotional and mental intelligence when you're demisexual, like that. Yeah, 1,000%.
Definitely.
And then taking it a step further, because, and I talk about this every once in a while, because sex is some people's love language. Like, you really communicate through sex. And with so much damper that's put on, like, oh, don't talk about it. Let's talk about the shame that surrounds sex. And then you have people who really know how to only communicate through sexual contact. So let's talk about that stigma around the shamefulness of sex, when that's the only way that some people know how to communicate.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I literally had someone comment on my I had a status the other day about a video about vaginal health on TikTok, and somebody commented and said, bring back shame and diaries. I was like, bring back shame. I'm still out here trying to fight the shame and like end the shame and the stigma. Yeah, it was crazy. And in my comment section, there was a whole bunch of people with vulvas like cheering each other on and like, you know, really uplifting each other. But then there was this one person who had this like negative comment because our liberation was so intimidating. So yeah, I think that my mom is a big reason why I don't have shame regarding sex and sexuality. I think that society is the reason why I do have bits and pieces of shame that I have to check sometimes. It's like so unconscious, but yeah, I think that my mom being so open about it and me growing up in that environment was really helpful for me to be able to push past some of the shame that normally a lot of women experience.
Yes, right. And we have a commentator who says, yeah, thanks, lady, for creating a space for open discussion, because it is needed. Yeah, I think even when girls are real young, we're taught not to even touch our bodies, explore our bodies. And then we get into these relationships, and I see them in my couples counseling where the woman's like, the man's supposed to know what to do with my body. She doesn't know what to do with it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's one of the reasons why my mom bought me my vibrator at 16, because she wanted me to learn how to give myself an orgasm. She wanted me to teach myself what pleasure felt like, because she didn't want me to go out there, have sex with a guy, and then he's like, yeah, this is what's supposed to feel good, and it doesn't. Then I feel once again like something's wrong with me. So I think that time period, and also I just wanted to share, I didn't start having sex until I was 24. So I had a lot of time to be able to really explore myself and figure out what pleasure really meant to me.
I was going to literally speak about how your mom helped in that, because, you know, there was this big debate going around a while ago, something about my daughter's 14 and she asked about a vibrator, and then I bought her one, and people were like bashing this woman from left field to right. But hearing you speak about it, it makes sense. You were able to truly tune into you, not just accept someone putting any object, let alone their body inside of you, and you not understand what it's supposed to feel like, and creating a connection. So you connected with yourself first. So you had that core. So if there's someone young or mom that's out there that's listening, and because their daughter may be going into this territory, you got to think 13, 14 years old, the body is starting to yearn things. So for that mom that's listening, what do you say to her?
To the mom that's listening, I would say that I think that my mom getting me my vibrator at 16 was one of the best decisions that she's made, like in parenthood. Because not only that, but she would buy me like books from like the Discovery Store. I was homeschooled from the 1st grade to the 12th grade. So we had a very close relationship. So she would buy me literally books about how babies were made, because she never wanted me to believe that the stork would come and drop a baby off. Like, that's not it. She's like, I'm not trying to gaslight my daughter. And she would put me in programs where I would learn, her and my dad would put me in programs where I would learn about STD prevention, STI prevention. We would go around the community in these programs and talk to our peers about like what STIs are. So I would say it might be an uncomfortable conversation to have, but I think the more comfortable that a parent can get with having this conversation with themselves, the better. Like, I talk about this with my mom on my podcast, where she said her mom didn't have this conversation with her, and she felt like that really took a toll, on her, just her sexual journey. And so she wanted to make sure that I was able to have this like open communication, and it's gonna feel a little bit uncomfortable once again because society makes it uncomfortable. Although guys can talk to their sons, oh yeah, you gotta, beat the pussy up, even though that's horrible. No, you don't have to do that. But that's what guys are out here teaching their kids, So I think it's really important, and it can like save your daughter's life to really have these conversations with her, and it can be empowering. And I think that a lot of people think sex is bad and masturbation and self-pleasure is gross, but it's gonna happen. Like, it's happening. I know so many people who are under the age of 17 who are having sex and don't have a lot of education on what that should entail and about safety and all this stuff. So yeah, I think I say do it afraid. If you're scared to talk to your child about sex, do it afraid. And even be honest. Hey, I was a little nervous to talk to you about this. We might both feel a little uncomfortable or not. But yeah, I think creating a judgment-free zone, allowing your child to ask as many questions. And if you cannot answer the question, that's okay too. Because as kids of our parents, I appreciate when my mom's like, I don't know, but let's learn too. Let's learn together. Let's research this and get this book and whatever the case may be. So yeah. And use resources as well. Like my mom, like I said, got me that book when I was younger. But she also got me another book, excuse my language, but called Pussy. It's the reclamation of.
Yes, it's a great book.
I love that book. Yes. I think her name is Mama Gina.
Yes.
And so that, I think she got that for me when I was fresh out of my relationship at about maybe 25, 26. And that changed my life. Like, that was really a helpful like coming of age book for me. And I think it's great for all ages. I actually want to read again. So yeah, use resources, look at books and websites together and learn together. That's absolutely okay.
Wow. Yes. And I also just think outside of the whole sexual aspect, it made you and your mom close, that you could share and talk with her about anything.
Yes. And
how so many, moms and daughters or whatever women feel like they can't, talk to their mom, about things, whether it's bullying or finances or whatever. But you two are close.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And she says, like, I'll bring up some things to her, especially since I started having sex, and I'll tell her a story, and on the inside, she's like, this is so much information, but
yes.
I'm not going to judge you, let me just process it. I never know that she's feeling this, but then after the fact, like months later, she's like, yeah. Some things, and I'm like, because I get really graphic, like, just, and she makes it very clear, though, that I'm not her friend. Like, she makes it very clear. Very respectful conversations.
My daughter's the same way. I'd be like, I'm glad you're telling me, but I didn't need all of the details, but it's appreciative that at such a young age that you can communicate. And it's important for younger people to be able to communicate, because some young people get hurt in situations and they don't feel like they can talk.
Yeah.
And if you think about the opposite of that, if your mom had not talked to you, how do you think that would have affected your ability to be intimate or have intimacy with other people?
Wow, that's an amazing question. I feel like I would have had so much more judgment on myself and on my body. Like I said, because I'm still fighting societal norms, right? And like societal judgment. But yeah, I feel like I definitely would have tried to explore myself physically with other people way earlier. Like, I didn't have my first kiss until I was 17. Like I said, I had sex when I was 24. So I didn't have that curiosity. But I feel like if I didn't have any of this education, that curiosity would have eaten me up inside, and I wouldn't have known like the educational way to go about it per se. Like, I would have probably went just the experimental way, which is fine and can be educational, but it can cause a lot of harm as well. And yeah, I don't know if I would have protected myself as much, protected my energy, protected my body. I don't think that my confidence would be the way that it is right now. And I think I probably would have still felt like a lot of shame just surrounding my own desires. Yeah.
Yeah. That's powerful.
That is, wow. So if people are out there listening and they want to connect with you, yeah, tell us how they can connect with you and the services you offer. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, so I have two Instagrams. I have one for my podcast and one personal one. So the one that focuses on sex education is Love Atiya, and that's LOVE Atiya. And then the one for my podcast is the Love Atiya Experience. You can find me on TikTok as well, where I post a lot of such educational content, which is I Love Atiya. And that's my YouTube name as well, I Love Atiya. And my TikTok, my podcast is the same, the Love Atiya Experience. But the best place to find me for uncensored content is my Patreon. I have a free tier and then also other membership options as well. But that's where I'm shifting off of social media. I'm tired of fighting the social media gods. I just want to be heard. So that's where I really want to create a safe space to learn more about my community. I've built a community, so I'd love to be able to just have more personal communication with people. So my Patreon is the Love Atiya Experience. And last but not least, you can sign up for my Pleasure Positive playlist and email newsletter. And that's going to be on my website, loveatiya.com. And you can see the sign up link or loveatiya.com/sign up. But I send out one email a month. I don't spam inboxes with pleasure tips, things that I've learned that month. I have sex toy recommendations. I work with a Black-owned sex toy shop as well. So I have coupon codes for that. And yeah, and I'm starting my own sex toy company. So you can follow or sign up for that. Sign up for the loveatiya.com sign up page, and you'll get some more updates about the sex toy company as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's definitely been a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you, ladies. This was absolutely so amazing and very healing. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, well, we'll take a break and we'll be back in a moment.
In a world where stress and anxiety seem to be constant companions, finding a safe space is essential. Welcome to Therapist in Sarasota, where we hear you and we care about you. Take the first step towards healing and transformation. Contact us today to schedule your appointment. Your mental wellness matters.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. That was so powerful.
It really, really was. And I truly feel like it's one that someone listening needed to hear it, especially when it comes to moms. Well, I'll say parents and their children. That was such a necessary conversation and a really good perspective coming from kind of the non-normal, non-traditional relationship where this parent actually said, hey, I want to educate as early as possible so that I don't have to have sorrow later.
Right, exactly, yes. And so someone else doesn't have to tell my child, XYZ, that my child, the young woman I'm growing up, or she's growing up to be, can define out for herself what's good for her. So
absolutely, because if they don't hear from you parents, they will find it somewhere, and you don't want them going through the dumpster to find lunch. Okay.
Exactly.
And that was a great, and we have so many more amazing shows that are coming up as well, and I'm super excited about that. So rounding out, and this is what, a leap year. Happy leap year.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So on the 29th of February, yes, that is real. February 29th, we have How to Achieve the Female O with Tosh Doherty. On March the 7th, we have Return of Dating with Style with Maura Gangan. On March the 14th, we're going to have What Kinksters Can Teach Us with Todd Max Carey. That's going to be a good one. And then on March the 21st, Return to Self-Care for the Extremely Busy Woman with Susan Falter. So I'm really excited about those upcoming shows.
Yes, definitely. It seems like it's going to be an exciting, because especially after February, it's Women's Month. So that whole exploring, yes. So if you've been listening, please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and definitely check out Love Atiya. She has such beautiful aspirations, beautiful things going on with positive. She's even creating a store. So there's much more to watch out for her. So definitely find her on Instagram. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.